He is the, let me get this right, the head of tape evangelism, and that would be Rich Gadomski. Rich, you were with us back in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, and it's great to have you back talking security solutions and how FujiFilm is helping with that. So we'll dive right into it, Rich. I always hear that there's a 3-2-1 golden rule for backup. Is that still existent, or how has that evolved in light of things like ransomware?
Yeah, sure. Glad to answer that. But first of all, thanks very much for having me, Brent. I do remember the mid-pandemic webinar that we did. So it's good to be back in the office, even if it's not 5 days a week. So the 3-2-1 golden rule, it's still around, but it stood for 3 copies of data on 2 different types of media, say 1 HDD, 1 tape, and then 1 copy offsite, okay? So if your data center burnt down to the ground or got taken out by a hurricane, you could fail over to the offsite location, to the second data center, for example. But now, in the age of ransomware, it's really the best practice is now 3-2-1-1. The additional 1 is for an offline copy, because if you have your data stored offline where there's no internet connection, it's off the network, then the hackers can't get to it. That's pretty much what we refer to as 3-2-1-1. There's also 3-2-1-1-0, which means make sure when that offline copy goes offline, it has 0 virus, 0 ransomware. But yeah, it's around, but it's evolved slightly to include the offline piece.
So it's 2023. We hear a lot about cloud and different aspects. Are companies today still serious about using tape as part of their cybersecurity strategy? And what exactly is the tape air gap? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, tape air gap is definitely a real thing. It's very, very simple. That's part of the elegance of it. It means that your data, say your mission critical data, is stored offsite, offline, say in an Iron Mountain vault. It's impossible for hackers to get to it. It's completely disconnected from the network. There is an air gap between the hackers and the data. So it's definitely a real thing. As a matter of fact, I was speaking to a cybersecurity expert from VMware, and he used to be an expert hacker turned over to the good side, and he now advises companies on how to defeat ransomware. And he absolutely recommends his clients employ a tape air gap. And he has nothing to gain from selling tape, but it is kind of like the last line of defense. It's a ransomware protection is multifaceted. You have to have the upfront patches and security and two-factor authentication. And employees need to be trained, not to click on suspicious emails. But at the end of the day, you can store that data offline, offsite. It can't be accessed by the hackers.
Sounds like that he's like the Frank Abagnale of tape. Turn from the dark side to the good side.
Yes, fascinating.
So air gap's real. So what percentage of companies out there would you say what will be holding them back from moving forward?
A lot of different research out there. Cybersecurity research is always tricky because people don't want to really disclose what their defense mechanisms are. But I would say between 20 and 25% of respondents admit to using tape as an air gap. And I think probably what's holding back a little bit is perception that, tape would be difficult, it would be expensive. But that's really not true. You can take 1 petabyte of mission critical data, which is a tremendous amount of data. You can put it off site using a 3U rack autoloader, 2 tape drives, 23 LTO9 tapes, very low cost contract with Iron Mountain, 5 years, $60,000. So that's $12,000 a year, very inexpensive for a petabyte of data. And when you think that, think about the ransomware demands. On average, they're between $3.5 and $5 million. So $12,000 a year is a very inexpensive insurance policy. And with 23 tapes, very easy to move.
No doubt, no doubt. I had a friend of mine just a couple weeks ago works for a large company in our area, and they were attacked. And yeah, that ransom is real. That got thrown their way as a result of that. So, Rich, I appreciate that you being with us again today. And there is again a downloadable document that you've made available that kind of discusses this air gap, and that's very helpful. You can download that from here within this